What if I told you that you possess a sense that has been forcibly turned off? A true sixth sense, which has nothing to do with seeing ghosts, but rather with the ability to decode the secret language of our planet. The proof is that right now, the trees around you are transmitting information, sending alerts, and sharing ancient wisdom through a frequency you've been conditioned to ignore. Only 1% of humanity can still hear this conversation, but that's about to change. Because what they've hidden from you is that this isn't a mystical ability, but a biological technology dormant within your DNA. And there's a technique, an ancient method created by an Egyptian figure known as Thoth, that works like a password to reactivate this sense. I'll show you the first practical step of this technique right now, something you can do today, but I need to warn you, once you open this channel, your perception of reality changes forever. You'll never feel alone again. If you have ever felt an inexplicable connection with nature, comment below. I am part of nature. Nature is the great book that the Creator has opened before our eyes, but it cannot be read without first learning its language and the characters in which it is written. The first step to this rediscovery isn't a complicated ritual or a secret mantra. It's something much more fundamental. It's about finding a key, not a physical key, but a vibrational key, a symbol that acts like a tuning fork for your consciousness. This symbol has the power to tune your personal energy to the frequency of the forest, allowing you to begin deciphering the messages that have always been there. It's like learning to see a new color, a color that has always existed, but your eyes couldn't register. The universe doesn't hide its secrets, it simply protects them from those unwilling to hear them. This key isn't in an ancient book locked in a vault or on a remote mountaintop. It's hidden in plain sight, disguised as philosophy, myth, and archaic knowledge. It was left behind by a civilization that understood that humankind and nature are not two separate things, but different expressions of the same consciousness. They knew that to understand the universe, you need look not to the stars, but within yourself and to the earth beneath your feet. The journey to listen to the trees is, in fact, a journey back home, to your own essential nature. And most intriguingly, this key, this ancient symbol, is not just an abstract idea. It corresponds to a fundamental principle of life itself, a pattern that repeats itself from the structure of a galaxy to the way a tree grows. By understanding this pattern, you will not only find the key to communicating with nature, but also a map to your own consciousness. The forest is not silent, it is patiently waiting for you to remember how to tune in to the right station. And that key is about to be revealed, not in a sound, but in a code left by an ancient god of wisdom. That ancient symbol, the key to unlocking the frequency of nature, is not a modern invention. Our search for it takes us straight to the heart of ancient Egypt, to a figure as enigmatic as he is powerful, Thoth, the ibis-headed god. He was not just a god, he was considered the scribe of the universe, the guardian of hidden knowledge, the master of wisdom. The Greeks revered him under another name, Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great, and his teachings formed the basis of a secret tradition that spanned millennia. And it is in one of his most famous texts, the legendary Emerald Tablet, that we find the first clue. This text, which has survived for ages, is not a storybook but a set of codes. One of its most famous lines declares, "As above, so below, and as above, so below." For centuries, philosophers and scholars debated this as a beautiful metaphor for the connection between heaven and earth. the macrocosm and the microcosm. But they missed the point. This wasn't poetry, it was a literal instruction manual. Thoth was delivering a diagram, a blueprint for reality itself, and the tree was its perfect physical manifestation. Think about it. The roots of a tree, hidden underground, plunging into darkness and humidity, are a near-perfect mirror of its branches which stretch skyward, seeking sunlight. One grows downward, the other upward, but both are part of the same being, connected by a trunk that unites the two worlds. Thoth understood that trees are not just plants. They are living antennae, energy conductors that connect the power of the earth with the information of the cosmos. They are the physical bridge to the principle he described. They live and breathe the mother tongue of our planet. The first step of this lost method, the first practical action to apply the code of the Emerald Tablet, is a ritual, but not a ritual of robes and candles like we see in the movies. It is an internal ritual, an act of realignment. It is so simple that the modern mind, always seeking complexity, tends to ignore it. However, its simplicity hides an immense power. A power that science, with all its advanced technology, is only now beginning to map and, unwittingly, validate. Ancient wisdom and modern science are about to meet. They're discovering that the forest isn't a collection of individual trees competing for light and space, as we were taught in school. Instead, it's a superorganism, a collective consciousness interconnected by an invisible network beneath our feet. What the ancients called the forest spirit, science is now giving a new name, one that sounds surprisingly familiar for our digital age. And this scientific discovery is proof that the Thoth ritual wasn't based on belief, but on a deep understanding of the biology and physics of our planet. The secret internet of the forest. That simple ritual, left by Thoth, works because it connects to a reality that has always been there, but which we are only now rediscovering with the help of technology. What was once considered folklore or the intuition of native peoples is now being confirmed in cutting-edge laboratories around the world. Scientists like forest ecologist Suzanne Simard have spent decades mapping what happens beneath the forest floor, and what they've discovered is breathtaking. They've given it a name: the Wood Wide Web, a biological internet that connects everything. This network isn't made of fiber optics, but of microscopic fungal filaments known as mycorrhizae that intertwine with the tree roots. This underground web functions as a veritable social network. Through it, the oldest and strongest trees, called mother trees, send essential nutrients such as carbon and nitrogen to the younger seedlings struggling for sunlight. They're not competing, they're cooperating. They're nourishing the next generation, ensuring the survival of the forest as a whole, as a united and interdependent community. But communication goes far beyond sharing food. When a tree is attacked by a pest, such as a swarm of beetles, it doesn't suffer in silence. It releases chemical distress signals into the fungal network, alerting its neighbors of the impending danger. Trees that receive the warning immediately begin producing defensive compounds in their leaves to make themselves less palatable to the insects preparing for the attack before it even arrives. It's a collective defense system, undeniable proof that the forest operates as a single, intelligent organism, and communication isn't just chemical. Researchers have also recorded that plants emit sounds, especially when they're under stress, such as lack of water or physical damage. These are ultrasonic sounds, like a series of clicks, at a frequency too high for our ears to detect. It's a form of acoustic communication, a language of vibrations that reveals the plant's internal state. Science is, in fact, proving that the forest is not a silent place. It is full of conversations, warnings, and cooperation. It is alive and conscious. However, all these incredible discoveries are just the tip of the iceberg. Science can measure the what: nutrient transfers, chemical signals, sound waves. But ancient wisdom, the technique of Thoth, teaches the how. How can we, as humans, connect to this network without any sophisticated equipment? How can we tune our own consciousness to perceive these messages directly? Science shows us the map of the network, but ancient technology gives us the password. The truth is, you don't need a laboratory to prove this connection is real. You just need your own body and your intention. The Earth's method is not about intellectual analysis, but about participation. It's about ceasing to be an outside observer and becoming part of the conversation. And the first step to entering this network, to introducing yourself to this vast consciousness, is not an act of thought, but an act of profound respect. It's a ritual of approach that shifts your frequency and signals to the forest that you came not to take, but to listen. Accessing this vast biological internet isn't like connecting to a Wi-Fi network. There's no password you can type in. Access is granted based on your frequency, your intention. The forest is an ancient and wise consciousness, and it doesn't respond to force, arrogance, or haste. It responds to respect, humility, and presence. Therefore, to connect, you must first prove yourself a trustworthy user. You must demonstrate that you're not there to extract, but to commune. And this begins with an approach ritual, a practical and powerful first step. Before even entering the forest, stop at its edge. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the air change, the temperature, the sounds. Leave the noise of your daily life behind. Take 3 deep breaths, and with each exhale, imagine you're releasing the rush, the worries, the to-do list. Silently, or in a whisper, declare your intention. Something simple like, "I come in peace. I have not come to take anything. I have come to listen and learn." This simple act shifts your internal posture from that of a consumer to that of a guest. You are asking permission to enter. Now begin walking slowly, without a fixed destination. Don't look for the biggest or most beautiful tree. Instead, allow yourself to be guided. Let your intuition lead you. You'll feel a subtle pull, an inexplicable tug toward a specific tree. It may not be the most impressive, but there will be something about it that calls to you. Trust that feeling. It's the first part of the conversation. The forest is already responding to your intention and guiding you to the right connection point for you in that moment. It's an invitation. When you reach your chosen tree, don't rush. Approach it reverently. Gently place one of your hands on the bark. Close your eyes again. For a minute, focus all your attention on a single point, the feel of the bark under your hand. Feel its texture, whether it's rough or smooth, cool or warmed by the sun, moist or dry. Forget everything else. Just feel. This act of sensory focus takes you out of your noisy mind and anchors you firmly in the present moment, at the exact point of contact between you and the tree. At this point, don't expect to hear a voice in your head or see a cinematic vision. The first communication is much more subtle. Pay attention to what shifts within you. It could be a sudden surge of emotion that wasn't there before, like a deep peace, an inexplicable sadness, or a sudden joy. It could be an image that flashes through your mind, like a forgotten memory. Or it could simply be a shiver that runs through your body. Don't dismiss any of it. This is the first response. It's the handshake. This subtle sensation is confirmation. The tree sensed your respectful presence and responded. The previously dormant communication channel has been activated. You've established a connection. It's a profound moment, the first word exchanged in a language you're just beginning to remember. And now that this door has been opened, now that the handshake has been given, you're ready for the next step. Something much more powerful is about to happen, a technique that will deepen this connection and synchronize your own heart with the pulse of the forest. Heart synchronization and the language of vibration. That handshake, that first subtle response from the tree, was just the beginning. Now that the channel is open, Thoth's technique takes us to a deeper level of connection based on a universal principle: resonance. The secret to truly hearing the forest lies not in your ears, but in your ability to feel with your entire body. The language of trees is not made of words, but of vibrations. And to understand this language, you need to learn to tune your own body to vibrate at the same frequency. It's a process of energetic alignment. With your hand still resting gently on the bark, take your other hand and place it over the center of your chest, over your heart. Close your eyes and for a moment, simply feel your own pulse beneath your palm. Feel the steady, familiar rhythm that keeps you alive. This is your fundamental sound, your core vibration. Recognize this rhythm. Embrace it. It is the anchor for the next step, the starting point for the synchronization that is about to happen. Now, using the power of your imagination, begin to visualize or feel the pulse of the tree. Imagine the sap rising slowly from the deep roots, passing through the trunk where your hand is, and rising toward the branches and leaves. Imagine this slow, powerful movement as a heartbeat, a pulse much slower and deeper than your own. Don't worry about getting it right, just create this sensation in your mind. Feel the heart of the earth pulsing through the tree, an ancient, constant rhythm that sustains all life. The next step is the core of the technique, synchronization. Begin to breathe slowly and deeply. With each inhale, imagine that you are drawing the energy of the tree into your heart. With each exhale, imagine that you are sending the energy from your heart into the tree. Continue breathing like this and begin to imagine that your heart rate is gradually aligning with the slow, powerful pulse of the tree. Feel both hearts, yours and theirs, begin to beat as one. It's an exercise in conscious vibrational alignment. By doing this, you are effectively tuning your biological frequency to that of the forest. You are leaving your own limited energy field and entering a much larger, wiser one. It is in this state of synchrony, of resonance, that true communication occurs. The answer you seek will not come in articulate words like a human conversation. It will come as a form of direct knowing, an intuition so clear and sudden that it feels more like a memory being rediscovered than new information being received. In this state of deep connection, don't be surprised if sudden clarity about a problem in your life emerges out of nowhere, or if an emotion you've been repressing finally surfaces to be released. The tree, now in sync with you, acts as an amplifier and a mirror. It doesn't give you answers. It helps you find the answers that already exist within you. And this first profound intuition, this first download of clarity, will reveal something about yourself that the tree, in its silent wisdom, already perceived the moment you touched it. This intuition, this clarity that emerges during synchronization, is just the beginning of a much deeper process. You cannot truly connect with nature without inevitably connecting with the deepest parts of yourself. At this point in the journey, the tree ceases to be just a tree and becomes a mirror for your soul. It doesn't judge, it doesn't criticize, it simply reflects with brutal and loving honesty everything you carry within, both the light and the dark. And this is where the true healing work begins. By maintaining this vibrational connection, you will begin to notice how the tree's qualities mirror your own internal patterns. You might notice the rigidity of a branch that has grown crookedly to seek the light and suddenly realize your own stubbornness, your inflexibility in certain areas of your life. Or perhaps you see roots exposed and twisted by soil erosion and feel a resonance with your own fears and insecurities, those vulnerabilities you try to hide from the world. The forest doesn't point. It simply shows. But the mirror doesn't just reflect what's difficult. You might be enchanted by the delicate beauty of a small flower sprouting directly from the rough bark, and in that moment feel an awakening of your own forgotten creativity, of your ability to create beauty even in difficult circumstances. The resilience of a tree that has survived storms and droughts can remind you of your own inner strength, a strength you may have underestimated. The tree shows you both its wounds and its healing power, its shadow and its light. This is undoubtedly the most challenging step of the entire journey. Facing one's shadow, the parts of ourselves that we ignore, repress, or reject, can be uncomfortable. Many people stop here. They are frightened by the intensity of the emotions that arise, or by the uncomfortable clarity about their own behaviors. It's easier to blame the outside world than to look within. But the forest invites you to stay, to breathe through the discomfort, to embrace whatever arises without judgment. If you have the courage to stay with the process, you'll realize that the tree doesn't just show you the problem, it also offers the solution. It's not a passive mirror, it's an active teacher. Its very existence is a lesson in resilience, in adaptation, in the ability to transform wounds into strength, like resin healing a cut in the bark. It teaches you that growth doesn't happen despite challenges, but because of them. It shows you how to put down deep roots so you can reach the heavens. It is by accepting this healing, by allowing the tree's wisdom to help you integrate your own shadow, that you become whole. The connection ceases to be merely a technique and becomes a relationship of mutual healing. You offer your presence and attention, and the tree offers you its wisdom and stability. And it is only after going through this process of mirroring and healing, by becoming more authentic and integrated, that you will finally be ready for the central revelation, the final secret that Thoth has hidden in plain sight. The Thoth technique revealed, focused imagination. Now that you've gone through the ritual, synchronization, and mirroring, you're ready for the core of the technique, the secret that unites all the previous steps. The Thoth technique, at its core, is the combination of two powerful elements: the aligned vibration you've already established and focused intention, which is the creative power of your own consciousness. A 20th century mystic, Neville Goddard, summed up this principle brilliantly when he said, "Imagination creates reality." Thoth knew this millennia ago and taught how to use this power in harmony with nature. Once you're in that state of vibrational synchrony with the tree, with your heart aligned with its pulse, the final step is to use your imagination in a very specific way. This isn't about daydreaming or having random fantasies, it's about the deliberate and focused use of your creative faculty to project a question or an intention. And the key here is that this projection isn't done with words, which are limited and belong to the logical mind, but with feelings, which are the universal language of vibration. If you seek guidance for an important decision in your life, don't ask the question, "What should I do?" Instead, generate within yourself the feeling of already having the answer. Feel the clarity, certainty, and peace that would come with the solution. If you seek healing, don't focus on the illness or pain. Generate the feeling of already being healed. Feel the vitality, energy, and joy of a healthy body. Project this desired end state, this pure feeling, directly from your heart to the heart of the tree, using the connection you've already established. Maintain this projection. Continue breathing in unison with the tree, focusing on this feeling, this vibration of your desire already fulfilled. Don't force it, don't fight it. Simply hold the feeling with a calm confidence, as if you were holding a bird in your hands. You're not asking, you're aligning. You're not begging, you're declaring a vibrational truth. You're using the tree as a powerful resonance antenna to amplify your intention and connect it to the intelligence of the universe. The answer won't come from outside. It won't be a whisper in the wind or a sign written in the leaves. The answer will come from within, like an instant download of knowledge. It will be an absolute certainty that settles in your mind and body without any doubt. You don't think you know the answer, you simply know it with every cell of your being. It's a form of direct cognition that completely bypasses the rational thought process. It's your own higher intuition, amplified by the wisdom of the forest. This is how you speak to trees, not with your mouth, but with your heart, not with words, but with feelings. It's a dialogue of frequencies, a dance of vibrations. This is the mental alchemy that the ancient masters practiced, transforming the energy of doubt and lack into the energy of certainty and fulfillment. And the effects of mastering this technique aren't limited to your time in the forest. They will begin to overflow and transform every aspect of your daily reality in ways you can barely imagine. All of this may sound like beautiful poetry and abstract philosophy, but the results of applying this technique are surprisingly concrete and measurable in real life. The stories of transformation are proof that we're not talking about a placebo or a simple relaxation technique. We're talking about an internal technology that, when activated, produces real change. Ordinary people with common problems have used this connection to find solutions and cures that eluded them for years through conventional methods. Consider the story of a woman who had struggled with chronic anxiety for over a decade. She had tried therapy, medication, everything. One day, she learned and practiced this technique. By connecting with an ancient fig tree, she didn't ask the anxiety to go away. Instead, she projected a feeling of deep peace, a sense of safety and calm she could barely remember. She described feeling a wave of tranquility from the tree that enveloped her completely. This feeling stayed with her for days, lessening her symptoms more effectively than anything else she had tried. Or consider the case of an entrepreneur who was completely stymied facing a complex problem in his business that threatened to bankrupt him. He spent weeks analyzing spreadsheets and holding meetings, unable to find a solution. Exhausted, he remembered this technique and went to a park. He sat down with an old oak tree, and instead of thinking about the problem, he projected the feeling of a solution. He imagined the feeling of relief and clarity of having already solved everything. Minutes later, still sitting there, the idea for a completely new strategy emerged in his mind. Clear, complete, and totally unexpected. These aren't coincidences or luck. They're the direct result of deliberately using your consciousness to access a larger field of intelligence. By aligning your vibration with nature's and focusing your intention, you step outside your own limited, problem-seeing mind and open yourself to a field of infinite possibilities. The forest becomes more than just a beautiful place to stroll. It becomes a mentor, a counselor, an endless source of inspiration, and a powerful ally on your journey. The beauty of this practice is that it doesn't require you to believe in anything. It only requires you to experience it. The proof isn't in the words I'm saying, but in your own direct experience. Nature doesn't care about your dogma or skepticism. It responds to your frequency and your intention. By practicing this connection, you begin to build a relationship of trust with the natural world and with yourself. You learn to trust your intuition because you see its results manifesting in your life. And the most amazing thing is that communication doesn't stop when you leave the forest and return to your routine. Once you open this channel, it tends to stay open. The forest, having recognized your frequency, begins to communicate with you in even more surprising ways, using the language of your everyday life. The conversation doesn't end when you leave. In fact, it's just beginning to infiltrate every aspect of your existence. The continuous conversation, symbols and synchronicities. Once you establish this deep connection and open this channel of communication, something magical happens. It stays open. Your conversation with nature is no longer limited to moments when you're physically in the forest, touching a tree. The forest, or the greater consciousness of which it is a part, begins to speak to you in your daily life using the language of the world around you. You begin to realize that the universe is constantly sending you messages, and now you can finally see them. You'll begin to notice a language of symbols and synchronicities that previously went completely unnoticed. A specific bird, like an owl or a hummingbird, might start crossing your path repeatedly whenever you're thinking about a particular person or an important decision. The shape of a cloud in the sky might suddenly seem like a visual answer to a question you've been silently asking yourself. These aren't accidents. They're winks from the universe, confirmations that you're on the right path. Imagine walking down the street, feeling lost and in need of a sign of hope, and at that exact moment, a white feather floats from the sky and lands gently at your feet. Before, you might have thought it a coincidence. Now you understand. You recognize the message. Life transforms from a series of random events into a constant, meaningful dialogue with loving intelligence. Each day becomes a treasure hunt, where you are constantly discovering the small miracles and messages hidden in your routine. The separation you felt between yourself and the natural world begins to dissolve. You look at the potted plant in your window and no longer see it as just a decoration, but a living being, a small ambassador of the forest within your home. You feel the rain on your face and perceive it not as an inconvenience, but as a blessing, a cleansing. Your very perception of reality changes. The world ceases to be an inert, mechanical place and reveals itself as a living, pulsating, conscious organism of which you are an integral part. With this new awareness, the feeling of loneliness begins to fade. How could you feel alone when you realize you're in constant communication with everything around you? You realize you were never truly alone. You just felt that way because you'd forgotten language. The feeling of isolation, which is one of the greatest pains of modern society, is replaced by a profound sense of belonging, of being connected to something much bigger than your own small self. Once you reach this point, the journey transcends learning a simple technique. You haven't just learned a method, you've undergone a profound internal transformation. The subtle membrane that once separated you from the natural world, the illusion that you were an isolated entity living in a world, has simply dissolved. Now you look at a tree and no longer see just wood and leaves, a resource to be used. You see a conscious being, a silent guardian, an ancient friend. You feel their presence and they feel yours. Loneliness, that persistent ache that haunts the modern human condition, becomes a logical impossibility. How can you feel alone when you realize, at a cellular level, that you are part of a vast and loving web of life that sustains you, nourishes you, and communicates with you at every moment? You understand that you belong to a much larger family, a family that includes stones, plants, animals, and stars. The feeling of isolation is replaced by a sense of universal communion. You realize then that Thoth's secret technique was never really about talking to the trees. That was just the portal, the entry point. The true purpose has always been to awaken the arboreal consciousness within yourself. It's the awakening of that part of your own consciousness that remembers its connection to the earth, the part that understands the cycles of life and death, the part that knows how to sink deep roots and, at the same time, reach for the heavens. It's the remembrance that you are no different from the tree. You are made of the same essence. Your roots and the tree's roots feed on the same soil. Your lungs and the tree's leaves breathe the same air in a dance of mutual exchange. You are, literally, a manifestation of the earth, just as the tree is. Awakening this awareness is like returning home after a long journey. It's remembering who you truly are beneath all the layers of social conditioning and limiting beliefs that have been imposed on you since birth. If you got this far, leave a comment with this phrase: "I can hear the secret language of nature, so I know you really followed through to the end." If you want to help the channel more directly, first pinned comment, you have exclusive access to contribute and support the dissemination of more content like this. Any help is very important to me and to the growth of the channel. But know that just watching this far has already helped a lot. And you can also share this video with someone who will be interested in this topic. And don't leave yet. I've set aside one special video for you to continue this journey. Click on the video that is appearing on the screen and we will meet you there.